Welcome to day 115 of the 300 movie challenge. Today we watch the highest grossing film of December 2003, which was The Lord of the Rings Return of the King. 4 hours long.
More than that, if anything. It was closer to
Like 4.5 hours or something.
with the credits, if you counted the credits, it's almost 4.5 hours, but we didn't watch the credits, so it was about like four and I don't know. Credits are like 10 minutes long, so
They're more like, yeah,
they're
like
long. They're pretty
10,
damn long.
15 minutes. It's quite a doozy.
So Valen informed us about the scene that was originally deleted
Yeah,
during the theatrical version, of which, yeah, I agree. How did they take out Sauron's death? Or
Saruman's
Saruman.
Saruman.
Why are their names so
I
similar?
don't know. That's annoying.
Okay, yeah, so
Whatever, that guy's death.
it
Yeah.
was in the first, 10 minutes. How did they cut it from the
Especially
theatrical?
because in the rest of the thing, there's no mention of the White Tower or anything, too.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's like, how? What? I don't know. It doesn't make any fucking sense why they would cut it. Because I'm pretty sure, I don't know the official names for any of this shit, but there's that the ball thing, right? Like
Yeah.
they get that, and I'm pretty sure the theatrical version they just they show up at the tower or whatever. They meet Treebeard, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Saruman." He says that line that's like the filth of Saruman's washing away, and then it just cuts to them finding the ball in the mud, and that's it. It's
What?
it's
Okay.
what?
But then you're just like, what happens to him? Does Treebeard eat him?
Yeah, it's
No!
just weird. That
He
there's
gets
nothing.
stabbed by the weird toad guy, and then he
Toad.
falls into the water.
No, he falls into the water wheel thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. He gets Vladimir the Impaler.
Yeah. So.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't understand why they cut that scene. I don't know what they did cut besides that, but I feel like there's a decent number of things they could have just kind of at least cut a few things by a few seconds, but they do that for many scenes, and that could have cleaned things up a bit. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this- why? I mean, that whole scene was not what was this theatrical release? 3 hours? That was not an hour long.
No, yeah,
There's no way that could have been the only important scene that they cut out. It doesn't seem logical.
yeah. I don't know. Whatever. But we didn't watch that version, so we don't have to judge that version. We have to judge this version.
True.
So
Of which, this time around, it didn't switch as much between the two. Actually, no. I don't know if it switched nearly as much as the last movie, actually, between the two perspectives. I think it did.
I think maybe what happened is that I guess maybe they made it more cohesive with the transitions.
yeah, because there were
I
some
think so.
transitions, but I think with the others, they were very much trying for the last movie to kind of tie it in where these things are happening at the same time, so they would cut
Yeah.
back and forth a lot more frequently, whereas this they wouldn't cut back and forth as frequently.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's more okay, so this is happening with this group, and then later it's but this is happening with this group.
Yeah,
Kind of around the same time, but maybe not necessarily. It kind of gives you more of an impression that things are happening at the same time, even though they're not explicitly saying that it is, because now you spend more time with each party,
Yeah.
and you have more time to figure out what is happening and what they're doing and how they're feeling.
Of which that one king was.
yeah,
Yeah, Boromir and Faramir's dad is assholes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Assholes.
I mean, that's totally the point. His character is very obviously this dude is a complete piece of shit. Hate him. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you can't really dislike them for that.
Yeah.
And again, he's
Oh.
he's not in it that much either. So it's not one of those things where you're just oh my god, I hate you, just die. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that's something that's nice at least.
The Gollum with
Oh.
Sam, I think.
Oh my, yeah. When he was framing Sam, I was just push him off the cliff. You don't do that to Sam.
Yeah, I'm actually okay. So I remember that I remember this scene. I was like, wait a minute, this scene doesn't like. Why would like finding the food make him like go back to help him? Because it's like, wait, I didn't eat the bread. Like, I don't get how that works, right?
Yeah.
But like, the thing is, I
know
remember
either.
reading a response to someone else saying that, and the response actually was like, "Oh, it's because blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Wait, that response made sense, but I don't remember the response." So
Oh.
now I'm just like, "Fuck!" Like, I don't remember. So,
Oh wait, was it maybe like he went back because he felt that maybe Gollum was gonna do something to Frodo?
I don't know. Maybe he was just doing it as like proof that he is like maybe he was just that he knew that he couldn't convince Frodo with that proof. I don't know. I don't get it. But
I don't know.
actually, I don't know.
I
Whatever.
kind of feel at the same time that the way he framed him also seemed kind of strange, too, or
A
childish.
little.
Because it's in like the scheme of things and everything, it's kind of like because you see in the beginning that he was like willing to give up his bread to Frodo and
Yeah.
everything, and then in like the scope of like all the bloodshed and killing and everything, it's like, oh yeah, he ate all the bread. See all the breadcrumbs on his coat. It almost
Well, I
seemed
mean, if he
kind of
doesn't have the bread and they have no other food, then that's a problem. But
yeah, but in the scope of other things, it didn't. It seemed a little out of place to me, at least.
Yeah. I guess actually, on the topic, since it's now like the end of the third movie, can we talk about the characters and how they develop? Just like the core, I guess, 6 of them. Is
I
that
guess
wait? Frodo, Sam, Pippin, Merry, Gimli. Oh no, it's more than 5.
It's
Gandalf,
8?
Legolas, and Aragorn.
It's 8.
Yeah, it's 8. Never mind, the 8 people.
I always like wait a minute.
Um,
I will okay, kind of going off of the scene we're just talking about now. I will say, for the first movie and also kind of the second movie, Sam didn't really have that much of a character to him. He
Yeah.
was just kind of like this sidekick who was not as good as Frodo and just but wanted to help him or something now. But then
Yeah.
like here, he like got a lot more independence in him and there was a big push for that. And
I really
I'm really glad they
liked
did
him
that.
in this movie.
yeah, it worked
Yeah.
really well here.
Especially when he fought like the mother spider.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
and,
it
and
was
also just how he is totally like active in terms of dealing with Gollum.
I
Yeah.
think at one point I was just like, when did Sam become such a badass?
Yeah.
Where he like stabbed the orc who was gonna like hurt Frodo when he got like
Yeah.
captured
Yeah.
again.
That too, it's like Frodo would have never made it to Moldor if it weren't for Sam either.
No.
And this
No.
movie definitely shows that too.
I want
Yeah.
to talk about Frodo last because
That's
Yeah.
fair.
I kind of have feelings about Frodo.
Oh.
Do you want to talk about some feelings?
No, let's talk about Frodo last because he's
Okay.
technically like the main character.
Yeah, it's fair.
Okay.
Technically, I say technically because I guess I personally consider Aragorn to be the main character.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say because like
Yeah.
I think you probably would say he is, but again, he in terms of like percent of the time he's on the screen, it's not that high.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure, but
Because like if I was to say between the two, I like Aragorn a lot more. He has like a lot more you can root for. At least I feel like that.
yeah, I think Aragorn, I do like him more. And he doesn't get like a ton of development, but he doesn't really need it because
He does-
he's
yeah.
already
Yeah,
established
because he
in what he
started
has.
off with so much in the beginning.
Yeah,
He
it's-
has like the honorable like personality. He has just the compassion for his teammates and for his people, and he's just a very good person. So just seeing him do good things is enough.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like character development, it's more like what's the word? Like situation development? I don't know, like where like
I
you
guess-
just you see him just like get better in terms of succeeding and continuing with stuff, but him as a
I
person
guess-
doesn't really change. So it's more like kind of rewarding to see that like, oh, this guy's finally getting, you know, the accolades
I
and
guess it's
power
more
he
of like it
deserves.
was a story driven thing for him rather than
Yeah.
character driven.
yeah.
He's kind of just proving to the audience that he's supposed to be the king. basically. So at the end, you feel very happy that he does get the crown. I don't think that's a spoiler at this point. You're happy for him because he's like, okay, I worked so hard and I went through so much shit, and now I can finally like make everything right again.
Yeah.
You know?
In terms of go
No,
first.
No, you go.
No, I was gonna talk about a different
Well,
character.
so was I.
Oh, let's see if it's the same one. Go.
I would say in terms of the character that had the least development, it would be Legolas. You don't really see much development for him.
Yeah, no, I'd
Yeah,
agree with that.
He's
Yeah.
also kind of like he starts out as like a really good person, and he's like overly powerful too.
Yeah, the fact that he took out like one of those elephant things by himself was a bit ridiculous.
Yeah. Because the thing with Gimli is that at least you kind of see like his sense of humor come out more throughout the
Oh
movie.
yeah, I really appreciate his sense of humor.
But for Legolas, there's like not much that you see as a development arc for him.
Yeah, I guess it's like you don't really see him that much, but I wish we saw more of him, but I still liked him. It's weird.
Well, it's kind of like, again, with like Aragorn, where like you like him, but like the main thing is that it's about how he like changes his environment and how he succeeds in things.
Yeah.
Legolas starts out in the similar kind of thing, but like him has like his status doesn't really change,
No.
right? He
Because
just keeps
Gimli-
existing in the same manner.
At least Gimli, he like learns how to like get along with the group, especially with like accepting elves and stuff, because that was a big thing for him before. And then at the end, he's like, I didn't think I would fight beside an elf. And then Legolas is like, how about beside a friend? He's like, yeah, bro, I'm down with that.
Yeah, so that works. But again, I don't think any of us think he's like a bad character. But I just, in terms of compared to the others, I would probably agree with that.
He definitely didn't get like a lot of development, but I guess he technically didn't have a character arc much.
Yeah.
He was kind of like the Swiss Army knife, where he's like, oh yeah, you need help? Done.
It didn't feel like they like wasted him in terms of like, oh, you could have done all of this stuff and you didn't, therefore you failed. It's like, would it have been nice if there was more? Yeah, but it's like not like a noticeable missing element to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it is kind of weird though that I know he has like a pretty big fan group, and like it kind of reminds me of like, in terms of the original Star Wars trilogy, Boba Fett, where like so many people like him, and I'm like, but he barely does anything. Like,
and then he dies in the first 30 minutes of the third movie.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I mean, I guess he's kind of cool, but I don't know. Whatever.
I can kind of understand the comparison a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But, I mean, Legolas does do more stuff than Boba Fett, but whatever.
Oh, wait, who is the character you were going to talk about?
Actually, I'll talk about that character a bit later. So, I mean, is there anything else to talk about Gimli, since we were kind of talking about him, too?
I just really appreciate his humor.
Yeah,
Throughout
he kind
all
of
the
turned
movies.
into, well, if you want more Star Wars comparisons, he kind of turned into, like, the C-3PO or R2-D2 in a sense.
Yeah.
Where it's, like, the kind of the character emphasis is on the comedy, but, like, he's still useful, and he does a bunch of stuff, and, you know, so you don't feel like he's just there for comedy relief, so that works.
Yeah.
He's not, like, the useless, just funny guy character.
Like Jar Jar
Yeah,
Binks.
he does a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. Who else to go? Oh, well, let's talk about Gandalf next.
I was gonna say Gandalf, yeah.
Okay. Again, especially for this movie, I don't think there was a ton in terms of development for him. But again, it's a similar situation where, like, by the time this movie has gotten around, he's kind of where he needs to be.
Yeah, because the last movie was really more so his, like, development
His
thing,
character
where he
arc,
turned into Gandalf the White and everything.
Yeah, and then in this movie, he's like, move aside, like, Boromir's dad, I'm taking over.
Yeah, that was
Because
so
you can't
satisfying. We just
do shit.
whacked him in the face.
That
was great.
He's just like, yes, thank you.
We were so happy. It was just like, he was just like, just shut up.
Yeah.
Whack.
And, yeah, definitely seeing him, like, actually in battle is pretty cool, too.
Yeah, because like even like the last battle in front of the gates, you see him running with a sword, and he
Yeah.
sticks out because he's wearing this white robe, but he's still running.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I have so much respect for you, dude.
As an old man too.
Like, can you imagine the actor just with his like beard and this huge white robe, and he's like, I have to run in this shot, but I'm gonna do it. Major props to him too.
And what if like when they kept trying to shoot that, like one of like every time they tried to shoot it, like one of the extras fucked up, so they keep doing it over and over, and he's just like, guys, I hate running.
Stop making me run. I am like 70 years old. Please. Stop.
But yeah, and again, he's very like, I mean, obviously he's like, oh, the old mentor kind of role, but
Like you see him
He's
actually
still
like
a badass.
fighting.
yeah,
though.
he's definitely more involved, and like he's also not, perfect. Like he makes mistakes, and he's like questions his
Yeah.
own judgment and stuff like that. So he works really well in that regard.
Oh yeah, like when the messenger guy came out the gates and was like, "Oh yeah, Frodo's dead," and then he was like, "Oh my god, he's dead," and then Aragorn just like chops off his head and is like,
Yeah.
"Bullshit, bullshit, he's not dead."
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I was kind of like sad to see him like leave on the ship at the end too, because I was like really
Yeah.
wanted to leave.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I could talk about that because I actually, somewhat recently, I was looking into like the, I don't know, mythos of Lord of the Rings and kind of
Yeah,
like
So
just
what
see.
does going on the boat mean?
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
remember reading about that. It's basically like the boat, they go to like another continent or something, and
Oh.
it's supposed to be that the elves go to that continent so that they can remain immortal.
So
because-
that's what Elrond was trying to do with
Yeah, so
Arwen.
it's like a special reward where Gandalf, Bilbo, and Frodo can go to that place and be immortal.
Oh, I
So
see.
that's the deal with it. At the same time, it's kind of like, well, shit, why don't you just take all of them then?
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
I don't know. Apparently, also, when I was reading that when it was time for Legolas to go there, he took Gimli with him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Best
Because
friends
again,
forever.
apparently, like it's really unheard of for like anyone who's not an elf to go there. So that's kind of the whole
Right.
deal about it. But
Because we know Aragorn and Arwen have to like rule this continent, so they
Yeah.
can't leave.
right,
Until
because that was the
later.
whole thing with like they're saying, "Oh, Arwen, you're gonna die if you stay here," right? That was why that whole issue was because otherwise she'd go on the ship to that continent or whatever.
Right, and that's why her turning around being like, "We have to make the sword" was such a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Actually, the person I wanted to talk about was Arwen.
Oh,
So I guess this,
perfect lead-in.
yeah. Well, I was because the thing is like, I understand that part element of the character was kind of needed to, happen. But at the same time, especially considering like how they started with her in Fellowship of the Ring, I thought she would be more important.
I thought
Yeah.
so too. I
And
thought
she
she would have
kinda
actually like
wasn't.
battled and everything too.
Yeah,
I thought she would have been in the role of the blonde lady.
Eowyn. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
It's
because
sad.
like I actually like her quite a lot. Because
Yeah.
they, there's the kind of trope of like, oh, the female badass, right? But
Yeah.
it's usually done in two ways. And the first way is it's like this, overly, totally not feminine woman who like is a super badass, right? So there's that.
Yeah.
Or the opposite is like someone who is super feminine and then does like one small little thing that's kind of badass, and then that's it, and she gets rewarded for it, right?
Yeah.
So she's like a good mix of that because again, she is, feminine in nature and stuff like that in her interactions with other people. But then she's in that battle and she's like killing a fuckload of people and like
She kills the
Yeah.
witch guy.
yeah, so it's just like, oh shit, okay, so she's actually means business. So it's this good kind of medium where it doesn't fall on either side of the tropey spectrum. So
Yeah.
it works well.
I really like how there's also the trope of the girl who's like, I'm gonna fight with the rest of the boys and everything, and like disguises themselves, and in the end that has to like rely on like the other people to help her. But she literally went into the battle and she did everything by herself, really.
Yeah.
Other than having like
Mary.
Mary
I
with
think
her.
it was Mary, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was Mary, yeah.
And-
Which even they split off at some point, and
Yeah.
she took down like the witch king and everything all by herself and everything.
Yeah. And, well, I guess now we can talk about Merry and Pippin.
Yeah,
Well, actually, what I liked about that is that they actually split them up for a good amount of this movie.
yeah.
Because before you'd just seen them together and you'd just seen them kind of as like one unit, but now since they're together, you can see them kind of develop a bit differently.
Yeah, I do like how the movie split them up, and you see each of them, like, they both have kind of different convictions. Like, I think Mary was the one who wanted to fight right away, and then Pippin was a bit more, like, reserved about it, and he was like, I don't know. He's more of, like, the diplomatic one.
Yeah, that too. He wanted to prove himself to Gandalf still because as he remembered stuff from the first movie, which, like, in the first half of this movie, you can see him always glancing at Gandalf and everything.
Yeah. And then he, like, touched the orb thing and fucked up a bit.
Yeah. But I would argue that they probably, in terms of character, they definitely developed the most, I think.
The absolute most, yeah. Because, like, you saw a slow progression even the second movie. They developed a bit when they were like, Treebeard, can you please just listen to us and, like, do the thing? And then Treebeard's like, oh, okay.
Like, compared from the first movie, there is a very big difference between how they both are.
Yeah.
Because in the first movie, they were just, like, playing pranks and joking around, but then as you see throughout the movies, they go off into battle and everything, too.
Yeah, and then, you even see Pippin being like, don't burn Faramir alive!
Yeah.
You idiots! He ran into battle and was like, Gandalf, they're gonna burn him alive! And Gandalf's like, what? Bitch,
that fucking idiot!
Like that idiot king again.
And then the idiot somehow burned himself alive.
Yeah.
Good riddance, honestly.
Is there anyone else to talk about before the Mr. Fro?
I think we talked about everyone else, and we've kind of wrapped up their arcs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we can start.
Yes.
Okay. So, for a very long time, Valen's gonna kind of have a comparison for this. For a very long time, I did not like Frodo, actually. I understand what he's going through is very hard. I get his reactions. But his naivete is so frustrating. And I'm just like, I get that you're a nice person, but you're really gonna believe Gollum over Sam?
Mm-hmm.
You're really going to think that Sam ate the food when he gave up his portion for you so you wouldn't keel over? Sam carries you up a fucking volcano after you do that to him.
I can, in sort of defense, I mean, I understand, I get your point, and I kind of agree with you, but I have, like, kind of two counter arguments that you could make.
Yeah.
One of which is that in terms of getting the ring to the volcano, Gollum would be more important in terms of just knowing the way, right?
Yeah.
So there is that kind
true.
of, like, objective reason to keep him around.
Yeah.
And then the other argument is that, like, oh, well, him having the ring is, like, making him make terrible decisions and stuff like that, right?
That also makes sense.
So you could say that that makes sense, but at the same time, as a character that you are watching, it's super frustrating, right?
Yeah.
So
I also agree that it was very frustrating watching him.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's, like, kind of the point that you're frustrated with him. Again, it's, like, hard it's hard to gauge.
It's hard. It's hard because, like, you understand as the audience that this is how it's supposed to be, but every time he came back on screen, and if he wasn't with Sam, I was just like, I want to die. Especially when, like, Gollum was still there, too, and he was, like, you know, being Gollum, and you're just like, how is Frodo believing anything he says? Like, I get the whole guide thing. Sometimes there's a necessary evil with it, but you don't have to talk to him socially.
Yeah. I think I would have liked him a bit more if we saw him without the ring. Like, I know in the first movie you see him without the ring for, like, a little bit and stuff, but I feel like if we actually saw him like make some like major decisions and stuff,
Yeah.
if we had like a comparison to go off of, as opposed to just seeing him just be like a generally nice guy and then have him go through the ring, there's not really like much of a comparison to
That-
go with that.
That's a good point, because if you see how he's supposed to be as just a normal person for at
Yeah.
least half of the first movie, then you can at least feel sad that this is happening to him. Like, you can feel
Yeah,
more
like you
sympathy.
can like you have like a point to go off of to see.
It's-
Okay, yeah, he's going like insane and everything. He
It's
used
more
to.
tragic that way, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
I wish they did that. I guess, like, with the source material, maybe they didn't have that to go off of, and that's understandable, and
Well, yeah, 'cause
maybe
if
some
they-
adaptations
Yeah.
don't
It-
take
it-
the chance.
if they wanted to show him more without the ring, they'd have to make the movies even longer. So
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's understandable just from like a movie perspective, but if the book did that, then that would have been a better take on its storytelling wise, just
Mhm.
so that you can not feel icky when the main character's on screen, like making you like want to punch him sometimes.
Yeah, with the like same worried look on his face and everything. It's just like
I don't know if that's just Elijah Wood's fault.
I don't know. I kind
It
of
might be.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with what you're saying. Like, I don't dislike him, but again, it walks that fine line of like, I know you're making bad decisions, but I
Because-
still don't really like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is hard to kind of judge. So
I
yeah,
will say, like, by the end of it, I didn't hate him. I kind of felt neutral, I guess.
Mm.
Because
yeah.
at the very end, like, he does finally go through with it. He throws the ring and Gollum finally into the volcano.
Well, but
Well,
you could argue though that if it was just him there, though, he wouldn't have done it. It's basically because Gollum was
definitely
a greedy
wouldn't have done
bastard
it.
that ended up happening.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
definitely would have done it. But
If
I
anything,
think the
actually,
thing-
I kind of like that almost because it shows that the dude at the very beginning, the whatever
Bilbo?
kid- no, Isildur.
Smeagol?
Isildur. How
yeah,
like he
oh,
couldn't how he
right.
couldn't do it, right? And he
Yeah,
was supposed to be
right.
like the great king of men or something, and this really awesome dude, and he couldn't do it. And then here comes random Mister, Frodo Baggins, and like the idea that like somehow he could do it. It's like that seems kind of weird. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So the fact that
It
And
makes
even in
sense.
the end, Gollum didn't do it on purpose.
yeah, so it is kind of one of those things where it's like it's kind of nice that they just did like, oh, here's some random dude, but he's somehow stronger
Yeah.
than like the king of everything. So I get that, and
Yeah.
I like that aspect of it. But
Yeah.
it is hard to portray this in a way it's kind of
Him kind of giving into the ring is good from a storytelling perspective because you're consistent with it.
yeah.
Mm.
It shows that the ring is powerful and like it does turn you insane. It does make you do like terrible things because even in the end, Bilbo is talking about the ring and is like, I wish I could have held it one last time.
Yeah.
It shows how like fucked up it makes you.
Yeah.
And
it's-
I do appreciate like that part where he's like, I'm not gonna throw it in actually, and then like there's the fight and stuff. But like his conversation with Sam at the end when they're like, then when they think they're about to die when the volcano is like flowing, I think that kind of at least made me go back to Zero with Frodo, where I
Mhm.
don't really dislike him and I don't really like him.
Because
but
that was like our first chance after the first movie to like see him without the ring
Yeah.
influence and view him as a normal person again.
Yeah, and then his like, I guess just his reaction to coming back home also I could appreciate because he went through a lot, and in the end he's just like, I don't think I can be happy here anymore because I've seen so much shit, and
it's an interesting angle to take. Yeah.
I just need to get out and I need to find myself again. And I thought that was a very good way to end his character arc, especially after you see so much shit with him.
Yeah.
In the end, it was a good decision to leave it off on that. I think if he just like went home and it was happy ending, I'd be like, I still don't like Frodo. But right now I feel pretty neutral.
Which, on like a slight random note, doesn't that mean that if Bilbo went on the boat and went to the like other land and everything, doesn't that mean that he's gonna be like ancient forever?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Or does he turn young again?
I don't know.
Elves don't really age, so I assume he just stays the same age.
But that would mean he would be like 80 years old forever.
I don't know. Whatever. Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
I do want to bring something up that like so many people bring up as a problem, but then I'm like, wait a minute, it isn't a problem because blah. So okay, a lot of people bring up the fact that like, wait a minute, if they had these eagles this whole time, why didn't they just like fly the ring right there and drop it in easy, right?
Mm.
And the thing is, well, no, like think if you're Sauron and you're just like chilling out and you're like, what the fuck are these giant eagles doing over here? Like, kill them. You know what I mean? That's like such an easy
Yeah.
target. Like, why? No, the point is they had to sneak in because they had to be like secretive. Like that's obvious.
Yeah.
But so many people are like, oh my god, why didn't they use the eagles? And it's like, because they would have been murdered immediately.
Oh yeah, speaking
It's not
of
like
the
the
Eagles.
eagles are impervious or anything.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because we didn't see any of them go down doesn't mean that they're not of flesh and blood. They're
Yeah.
not like the army of the dead.
Yeah, speaking of Army of the Dead, I love them so much.
That
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
That was so cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, okay, moving on, I guess, from characters, the visuals in this movie are phenomenal.
They
They're
are.
really, yeah, they're.
I mean, Valen
Uh,
mentioned this while we were watching the movie, but it was like, or I don't know which of YouTube mentioned it, but it was like the fact that they did a battle in the daytime
That was me.
Every-
Oh,
everything
that was Valen.
for both the battles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the
And
thing.
It looked so good.
Yeah, oftentimes for these kinds of things, especially when like CGI is involved, is that they shoot them at night because you can hide the effects better, right?
Yeah.
And like the Helm's Deep fight in Two Towers was still good or whatever in terms of what it did, but it was just so nice to see like two full-scale battles in the daytime. I mean, I guess the Gondor fight actually lasted a little bit. I think lasted like 2 days, so there was a little bit of it at night. But still, the main focus of it was during the day. You could clearly see what was going on through all of it, and it all looked really good.
Yeah.
And again, not even
Yeah.
just like the effects in that regard, but just like the style and the scope of so many things. Like the city, Minas Tirith, like looks really cool,
It
yeah.
looks really, really cool.
you know. And then just the design of everything. Like I'm just trying to think, like, you know, I don't think Mount Doom is an actual location that they went to go film on, you know. So just kind of thinking like that it's just because again, it's one of those things where you don't like think about it being CGI while you're watching it.
Oh no, I was just like, oh, this is a cool location. Then I
Yeah.
thought about it, I was like, wait, that's not possible.
Yeah, it's just it's so well done in that regard. And again, like if this movie was released today, it would still look really good.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah,
it's just
no,
insane that
like-
this was like 15 years ago.
And like the practical effects too, and just the choreography of all the fights was
And like,
really,
yeah, well,
really
the
well
yeah.
done.
choreography and how they moved all those people around to do all the sword fights and everything.
They had to have all been at least like 200-300 people on each side if they had to CGI people in there. Like to just costume all of those people and like just to get like the shots and how they clash, it's really well done.
Yeah. On a
Yeah.
technic, even if you have literally no attachment to any of this somehow, the technical aspect of this film is incredibly strong, and all of them are really strong. But it's by far the best here.
Yeah.
Just in terms of again just scope and scale and all that kind of stuff. It just
Yeah,
works
like-
so well.
The other two movies were really impressive, but it's just like it's almost like they took like half the budget and they were like, okay, let's put it into the third movie to make it like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Army of the Dead with like the cat, what was it called? Minas something?
Minas Tirith.
Minas Tirith, the Minas Tirith battle. We'll put it in the daytime,
Yeah.
and when it's nighttime, we'll like light it very well, and
Yeah.
you can see everything. And then with the Black Gates, we'll do that in the daytime too, and we'll have Gandalf run into battle.
And then the part where like the earth caved in and everything too. Like
Oh
that
yeah,
had to have been CGI too, and that was really well done also.
Mhm.
yeah, like well
When
done,
like everything
well
was
acted.
falling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
And
had
then-
to have been very well acted by the people.
And then it get even further. Just Gollum is completely CGI.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
That's insanely good. Again, is even by today's standards, ignoring the fact this is made in 2003. And again, while it was no, or actually, it was being released in 2003. It was probably being worked on, and these effects were being done probably the last couple years before that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, didn't they shoot this in like 1999? So they had to have worked on it like 2000, 2001, 2002.
yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just such an incredible like. Again, just trying to imagine like how this was done and the management behind it and like figuring things out and the actual work that was put into this was like insane.
It's pretty amazing, yeah.
It's
Like you think about the effects in this movie, and then you remember like the Transformers movies, and then you're just like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like and again, it wasn't just the effects in that regard which are extremely good, but also this is like very obviously a climax.
yeah.
Right? Everything's building up to it. The tension also in both like the visuals, the acting, and like the music too is really good. And
Yeah,
the
like the atmosphere.
yeah,
too.
and like you
Yeah.
know that whole I don't know third quarter, kind of like right leading up to when the it actually ends in a sense is just it's so you're just like like what's gonna happen, right? And like all this kind
Yeah.
of stuff, and it's just so well done in that aspect. And again, the ending like is super it's really emotionally touching, and it just works really well as like wrapping
Yeah,
everything up.
it's well earned.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's very well
I think-
earned.
The one thing that I would have liked to have seen more of is that, you know how at the very end they mentioned like the friendship and everything
Mhm.
between all of them? I can understand it for like Pippin, Merry, Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, but Sam and Frodo kind of went
They
off on
split
their
off.
yeah, they split off, so
Mm.
it kind of felt you can kind of I understand with like Merry and Pippin because they knew them even prior to all of this,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but then it felt kind of strange to include them into the friendship, even though for like a whole like it was only up until now they were off by themselves and everything, and it's only now that they came together.
Yeah,
That's true.
I definitely understand what you mean, because it's like you kind of see that they would have been very distinct groups, because whenever I think of like Aragorn's group, I think of, oh yeah, Gimli, Legolas, and then
Yeah.
Gandalf is usually with them too.
Yeah.
And then Pip and Merry, they're usually a unit, and they were of course friends with Frodo and Sam, but then I always associate like Frodo with Sam and Sam with Frodo, and then I don't really think of them interacting with the other like four
Yeah,
people.
it's
in,
trying to think
like
like
Aragorn's party.
yeah, it's trying to think like for example like the friendship between Legolas and Sam, and it's like there is none,
Yeah.
right? It's like it's just so again you can do what you can with the source material, right? You can't exactly
Yeah,
change that.
Yeah.
So
But I kind of would have liked to have seen the. I know it wasn't very important for them to go off on their own and everything, but at the same time,
I wish there was a little bit more crossover to like get that much at least. Just
yeah,
that's understandable.
yeah, that's like the only thing.
I think in like that last scene where like Frodo wakes up, if it was just the hobbits and maybe even
And-
Gandalf, because like Frodo knew Gandalf, so
Yeah.
that would have
Yeah.
been fine. But I remember like the other three were kind of awkwardly standing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
especially Frodo didn't even say Legolas's name.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
otherwise
Yeah.
it was good.
But I mean, it's again, as Valen said, it's you go off with what's from the source material and everything, but that it's just kind of something that would have made it even better.
Mhm.
But it does really take away like all the other good things and everything.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say this is perfect or anything. Like,
Yeah.
there's a few things that they could have added. At the same time, though, like I would say, the first hour has kind of moments that like it's a bit slow.
Yeah,
It's not that bad, especially again when like the battles start going. It's definitely not an issue, and even for an almost 4.5 hour movie, it's long, and you definitely don't feel like you're watching a short movie, but it doesn't feel overly long.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
It feels like well paced for the most part.
yeah, it's not again like this feels shorter than Tin Cup.
Yeah.
An
And
interview
Tin
with a
Cup,
vampire.
and Tin Cup was for like half the length.
Yeah, it was.
So it's just kind of, you know, elements of that. But yeah, because coming into this, like, again, I'd seen all three of these films, but like a decade ago, so I didn't remember them that well, and I didn't remember the connection that well that I had with them. And again, when I watched them, I was like, you know, I think like in middle school, so I didn't like understand everything I was watching.
Yeah.
So just kind of going through and seeing these again and getting like my emotional reactions to everything, it was interesting because I didn't really know where it was gonna go. And I think ultimately I do like this last one the most.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do think so. Are we actually all in agreement where we think this is this one and then Fellowship and then Two Towers?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Like Fellowship and Two Towers are kind of close, but this one definitely like a step above the other two. I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah, like, so I actually, you know, it was just kind of interesting coming into this and seeing the everything, you know, resolving the way it did and the emotions involved with that. And it was, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, like a big kind of cultural phenomenon that like maybe you kind of weren't a part of when like it first happened, and so
Yeah.
you don't have that initial like emotional connection to it. But then like when I finally, it's kind of like when I watch this now, I kind of like got it, and I was like,
Yeah.
it was like I
Yeah.
know why people really love this,
Yeah.
right? So it was kind of one of those things where I kind of had that moment for this, so that was nice to have.
Especially at the end and everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Just like, oh, it's over, but
Yeah.
it's not over almost because like Frodo and Bilbo and Gandalf are going off. But Gandalf.
And it's also not over because there's the Hobbit movies that came out much later. But
Yes.
even though
that
those
was
are,
a prequel, but
Yeah.
it's okay.
and we'll get to we'll be talking about those later. But well,
Speaking of talking, we gotta go through.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
we've been talking
After
for-
all,
we've been
after
I think we've been talking about this movie for so long because we just don't want to talk about the other movies in this fucking piece of shit year.
yeah, that's true. There's also a lot to say, but stalling is also part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think we're all in agreement that this movie, Finding Nemo, and Pirates were the best movies of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily,
Okay.
Yeah.
easily.
It's such a shame because again, like this movie was so good and the rest of this year was so fucking bad.
Yeah.
This
Other than those other two movies.
are we gonna I think we're all in agreement in this where this is this the worst year we've seen?
This is the
I
worst
think
year.
so.
Yeah. This is the worst year. And again,
Like
even
Sora
with
treatments and like
yeah, we had what, 3 Sora treatments?
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's again with this I'm pretty sure like by averaging out like, you know, all the stuff, like even with this movie being so high, like for my list anyway, like this would be the worst year. And it's like that's so depressing.
Isn't
Yeah.
it?
Ugh.
Especially when it had, like, again, the other movies and stuff. None of those movies could save the catastrophe that were the other 9 movies.
Yeah. So should we
I guess we should do a play-by-play as we always do. We can't avoid it.
no.
Well, we started the year off with our first Sora treatment.
It just buried.
I-
Or like I just don't want to see it again.
It's sad that the movie after that, Daredevil, actually was in the first place slot up until we saw Finding Nemo.
I know.
What's
Oh my
even
god.
sadder is that like Daredevil might still be I'm not sure, this is like close to say, but Daredevil might still be in like the upper half of this year.
I think so.
I think it is.
It's like right around like the halfway mark, which is so sad because it's not good at all. It's just not horrendous. So it's
It's not
Wake
the
me up
worst.
inside.
oh my god.
Wake me up inside.
And then there was
Sora treatment number 2.
yeah,
With
horribly
the most offensive movie we've seen.
Jesus
I
Christ.
think.
Yeah, well
Yeah.
maybe up until
Until
that
point.
point, yes.
Until that point, it was definitely probably the most racist.
Yeah.
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 Racist movie.
And yeah, that was terrible.
Anger management was just weird.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
weird and dumb. It wasn't like as bad as like the other like two terrible things, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Especially with that one character.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
The fucking weird creepo dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was weird.
Finding Nemo was great.
Yes.
We were finally graced with a good movie. Finally.
Yes.
Mm,
So that
And then
that
it-
was nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then it died.
And, then it's like-
yeah.
and even that
Like-
like Charlie's Angels, like it wasn't that bad compared to the others at least.
No.
Yeah.
It
It's
was
really sad to say.
yeah.
Biggest thing it was like annoying.
It was just like stupid and annoying.
It was mostly annoying and
Yeah.
and like fan servicey and weird. And it was mostly annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
Pirates was nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
again, I remember like when watching it, I said that like I was like not as positive on it, but I still liked it overall, and definitely compared to everything else. That yeah, it's
It's a fun movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's you know it's even if you don't like it, it's harmless, right? It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like you're gonna get mad over it. So, and I still liked it, but yeah, it didn't do enough to prepare us for.
No.
Can we
the
just
next
yeah,
movie.
okay. So skipping August, September's
What?
movie.
Once Upon a Time in Mexico. It was weird.
It was
but
also
it
just
wasn't-
weird, yeah.
It wasn't bad.
I
No.
can't necessarily say anything about the movie. But
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was just odd. And not really in the good way odd. It was more like we didn't even know if it was in the good way odd. It was just odd.
It was confusing and weird.
Yeah.
Unique, bizarre.
Yeah, bizarre. There
Yeah.
you go. It was a bizarre movie.
Yeah, that's fair enough to say. And then
Is it sad that Scary Movie 3 is also in the top half?
it's close to yeah, I think yeah, I don't know, it's hard to say. Like
It's at least not. It's not near the bottom.
no.
It's not near.
Yeah.
But the
it's
sad
hanging
thing
out
is, on a
somewhere.
normal year, it would have been near the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is hanging out like with Daredevil, I think.
Yeah, I'd
They're
say
kind-
that like, well, okay, I'll say what I was gonna say before we finish this up, and then so Scary Movie 3 was there, and then Matrix Reloaded was disappointing.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say disappointing.
I mean, again, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't even that bad, but it was not good,
Mm.
and definitely fucked over. It didn't have really a reason to exist besides money, and it changed things, and like pretty much anything that it did change, it made it worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm removing it from my own canon. The Matrix is a standalone, but we have to watch the third movie, unfortunately. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
And then Return of the King, which was amazing.
Yes.
And we just talked like 40 minutes about it
Yeah.
before.
But I think we're probably in the same kind of boat. So there's like Return of the King, Finding Nemo, and Pirates of the Caribbean are kind of like at the top, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
And
at
then
the top.
kind of like the next level down would be like Daredevil, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Scary Movie 3, and Matrix Reloaded. Would you agree? I'm not saying not in that order. I'm just saying it's kind of like the next kind of level of like
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's the
I
next
agree with
level.
that.
And then so that's kind of your next level of like, you know, still not good movies, but they're kind of just like you know.
Except
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in Mexico, I can't. That is
Well,
question mark
okay.
rating, but it's okay.
It's okay.
After that, then like the next level down is probably what
Anger Management,
Anger
Charlie's
Management
Angels.
and Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then the other three
The-
terrible
Yeah.
pieces of shit.
and the one that we will never talk about ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so sad
So
that
I'm gonna
again,
use
like
Dumb and Dumber as the analogy. Okay.
it's so
Yeah.
sad though that when like our second highest grouping is like not good movies.
Yeah.
I know. We haven't had this since the late 90s.
Yeah. But again, I feel like the late 90s, like even like the average late night these movies were just like meh. Like they weren't
Yeah.
even like as bad. Like again, for example, if Scary Movie 3 or Daredevil was like in 97, I feel like it would be like maybe instead
Bad.
of like
It would
instead of
still
this
be bad.
yeah, I feel like instead of like the second of 4 categories, it'd be like the third of 4 categories or something.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's just it's so shitty. Fuck this year. This year
We will
sucked.
just pretend the other 3 movies were like part of a different year. It's like 2003.5.
Yeah.
They're
They-
part of that year
It was
and
beta
not this
testing
year.
the year. Well, I guess we
Oh.
have 2004 to look at now, and
Oh my god.
I don't know what to think about this. It's like all over the place.
Yeah.
There's some really good movies, and there's some really not good movies.
I'm a little bit
Now
frightened.
we're not safe in December anymore.
Yeah,
No.
that's
December
the sad
is
thing.
no longer safe.
No,
It's up for grabs now.
no.
Actually, I think the best movie in this year is in November.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be that. Like, I don't know. I honestly don't see anything beating it.
Oh no, definitely not.
Maybe these two, but I don't think so. They'll probably be good.
I think November is gonna take it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, so that's something at least. But yeah, because 2004, like there are things on here that I do want to see. More
Yeah.
than just like 2 things. But there's also like more than 2 things I really don't want to see. So
Yeah.
nothing definitely as bad. I don't see any of this being as bad as some of the 2003 stuff, but
No.
I can see
I
some
don't
of it
think
being
there'll be nearly
pretty
as
bad.
many Sora treatments.
No, let's hope not.
Mm.
3 in a year. Oh lord. Okay.
Okay. I think we gotta end this.
Yeah, how long have we been talking? Oh my lord. Are we
Like
at-
almost an hour. Oh my
we're
god.
almost an
52
hour.
minutes.
Okay. This
Oh,
is
God.
this is definitely the longest one we've done. But we had a really long ass movie to talk about, which ended a really long ass series and also ending a stupid ass year. So
Yeah.
the perfect storm of shit to talk about.
Goodbye, guys.
Yeah.
See you next
Bye.
year.
Oh boy.